Welcome to the Feels Club and a new therapy podcast where science, compassion, and real conversation meet. My name is Mauricio Leguan, and I am your host. Each episode of this podcast, we sit down with a leading expert in mental health services from a new therapy, Utah's leading clinic for mental health services. We are going to explore a variety of topics around mental health, treatment options, and paths to healing. Our mission is simple: to help you understand what's possible in mental wellness today. From ketamine-assisted therapy to understanding emerging treatments and evidence-based practices, we're here to offer professional insights to help you or someone you love get unstuck and start moving forward. Because at Anew, we believe that mental health shouldn't be a mystery. It should be accessible, informed, and grounded in science. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Kate Johnson, a licensed marriage and family therapist at Anew Therapy with expertise in ketamine-assisted therapy, marital and premarital counseling, anxiety, spirituality, and faith transitions. So many things. Kate, so excited to have you here. Kate primarily works with individuals and couples to identify core relational patterns, improving communications, rebuilding connections during major life events. Kate offers structured, evidence-based therapeutic approach with warm safety, just all the good things. I can tell by the times we've talked before this that you just offer such a welcoming and warm environment for people.
Oh,
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Today's topic is all about the holiday season, which to many is a happy moment, a happy time of the year. But we're here to also talk about how this time of year can also bring up some hard feelings, maybe some grief, some loss. It's not always happy.
No.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Just on my client caseload right now, I have clients who are dealing with the loss of a child. This is their first Christmas after losing a child. A client who this is their first Christmas after a divorce and navigating the holiday season with now shared custody. They won't have their kids for some of these holidays for the first time ever. I have clients who are struggling with just family changes, whether they've transitioned out of the faith of their family and things have changed in their family, a gender transition where their family no longer welcomes them. It just makes the holidays really tricky when you're going through some difficult things like that.
I mean, and there's so many of us. I mean, you've mentioned just a few things, and I can think of individual after individual that could be going through a version of what you just explained. Ultimately, I feel like what we're talking about is we're experiencing change. So many things are changing individually, as a society, as people. When everyone around you seems to be so happy, every message we get from the media to TV to the commercials we see, it's telling you, everyone be happy and let's have joy and let's spread joy. And yes, I think we should, but that also, if you're not feeling it, it almost draws attention to how much you're not feeling that joy that everyone's supposed to be feeling right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Every movie you watch, every song you hear that is about the holly jolly time, that every family seems close and connected. Everyone seems to be in happy relationships and their families are the best ever. All of the things that amplify maybe that you don't have that right now. Maybe you have your own memories of your holidays, right? Where we, on purpose, kind of take the holiday season and we have sights and smells and tastes and all the things that we don't have at the other time of year, simply because we want to have those memories. We want to shape those memories for our families. But then when something changes, maybe you've lost someone, or maybe that family dynamic isn't there anymore. Now those same good memories can also seem very painful. And that makes it extra tricky too, very layered and very nuanced.
Very layered and very nuanced. What are you hearing? I know you've touched on it a little bit already, but in your practice, as you help individuals, you help couples, you help families kind of navigate the emotional challenges that can come up around the holidays, what helps bring healing or comfort during this time for the people you work with?
I think that can be so varied and depends on the person. I think, well, let me give you an example. The first Christmas after we lost my grandmother, everyone had very distinct and different reactions to it. And also understanding that she was Christmas. She was the kind of grandmother that's planning Christmas as soon as Christmas is over. She's planning the next one.
She's that grandma
She's got that
wants.
grandma.
Yeah.
So then you have that anchor, all the traditions, all the family time. It's just focused around this person, and then we lost that person. And you just felt unmoored, right?
Right.
So there were some family that were like, we can't, that first Christmas after she passed away, it was only probably 2 months later, where they just couldn't face it. And they traveled. They were like, we're just out of here. That's fine. Like, that's just one way to navigate that.
Yeah.
Some of us still got together, but we just did something totally different. We just couldn't that year just navigate it without her. And we went back to those traditions. We still do most of them today. But at that time, it was just, we just all had to cope in our own way, you know?
Yeah. And what I love about that example is the approach that you can have to experiencing grief, experiencing the loss of a person and everything that comes with it. You can approach it differently, right? Like, and that everyone has, even within a family structure, everyone has a different way to cope with it, even though you're all experiencing the same loss of the same person. I know we were talking about loss a lot and grief. There's also strains in relationships that come up during this time of the year. Actually was on my social media feed, you know, as we all are at the end of the day. And you see people kind of like almost bracing for impact. Like,
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Like, I have a strained relationship with my dad, or I have a strained relationship with my mom, or with a sibling or an in-law. Like, and I don't know how I'm going to navigate this. Or you even see the reels, right? The funny moments on social media that just kind of poke fun at, like, I think the one I saw recently was like the look that you give to each other when like the older person in the room says something inappropriate or whatever it may be. How do you help people navigate those strained relationships? Like those moments where you might not feel totally comfortable with the people that you feel like you have to be around.
Yeah, it's such a good question. I just was talking about this with some clients today, in fact, so it was good practice.
Okay.
So I think it's important to validate that it's tricky. Like, just feel those feelings, especially when you have the expectation or that comparison to all these families that seem like they're perfect or whatever. It just really isn't that way for most people. And so really validating that it's complicated, you know, just having those feelings, it just is, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then go in with a plan. So be proactive rather than reactive, and going in with some thoughts of where you want this to go. So I think people go in and we just have brains that focus on the negative, right? We just have a negativity bias, right? And then we want to focus on that aspect of a relationship and that one alone. And it's the problem. It's the unsolvable problem our brain wants to chew on. And the problem with that is it's unsolvable. And it's just going to create conflict and all the things. So it's realizing that your relationships with people are a pie. And there are many slices to it. So go in with like, oh, okay, so we totally disagree on politics. Well, we also both love Star Wars. So let's focus on that slice of the pie.
Totally. Oh, I love that.
What are some things we can talk about that we do both have in common?
Yeah.
What are some questions that I can ask? What do I know about this person? What have they been experiencing? Do they have a new job? Did they go on a cool vacation? Just going in with a list. In fact, I learned this from my husband. This is not even a therapy thing.
Yeah.
I learned this because I realized my husband does it, and he does it so well.
That's awesome.
Where sometimes family dynamics can start to just like circle in a really negative way. And he just has kind of this like plan he puts on his phone of like who's going to be there and what can he ask them. And he sort of like can segue into like, oh, now these people are talking about this thing that's going to be trouble. Oh, well, how was I heard you went to Germany in the summer. I forgot. Tell me all.
That is such a good plan.
So smooth, right?
That is so smooth.
Yeah, he thinks of all the things that he could update about himself. He's so good at even funny videos. Like when it's really desperate, he'll just have like a cue of like, oh, did you see this really cute dog video? Just anything to kind of keep things from going in a really negative direction, or where people are, there's gonna be an argument or conflict or something.
Totally.
It's such a beautiful skill.
That
so
is
now
such
I
a
kind
good
of
advice.
teach that to people where I'm like, you can even go in with little tricks like what's good instead of how are you? You kind of already start to prepare someone's brain for positive interactions when you ask them questions in a specific way.
Yeah.
What's good?
That's amazing. I'm going to take that with me. Like as I don't think I have strained relationships with people, but I think it's just really good practice to, where do you want to take the conversation with this person? And sometimes it is like you do want to steer away from sensitive topics or disagreements. Every family has someone who has a pretty strong personality. I would assume doesn't always work for people. What do you do with people who are just like insisting, like that one relative who's like, I want to talk about X topic that's been in the news cycle and, just drills that message and doesn't let it go? Like, do you step away? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, those are some tricky questions. And I think, again, having a plan for a segue.
Totally.
Where you can sometimes address the person. They just want to know that maybe they're heard. So you can be like, that sounds really important, Grandma, or whoever, Uncle Bob. That sounds really important, but that might not be right now. Let's maybe talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's direct. And yeah, I mean, to your own comfort level, right? But what I like about what you just described is that we have control over our, like, not always, but we have control over at least how we respond. Yeah. And we can say, and I think what's difficult, at least in my experience, is that you love these people for the most part, right? I mean, you love them, so you want to respect them. You don't want to step on someone's toes. But I like that redirection that you just gave us.
Yeah, and that's the importance of boundaries also. And remembering that boundaries are for you. It's a request for other people. I think this gets confused a lot from when people are like, set your boundaries, or that's against my boundary, where you're like, your boundary is what you do for you. For other people, it's a request. So you can even ahead of time very politely and kindly request that maybe there are certain subjects we just don't touch right now. They might be for another time. And you can request that, but grown humans are allowed to do whatever they want to do.
I know.
And they may or may not honor that request.
Yeah.
So your boundary is now, what do you do for you?
Yeah. Right? And I love that this conversation around boundaries is like really important. I have found it helpful, similar to you. You have your husband who does this really cool thing. My wife does this really cool thing where we kind of like help each other out. Like if we are walking into a situation where we know if conversations can go in a certain direction or someone might disrespect your boundary, just kind of like practicing with her ahead of time or having her nudge me on something and say like, hey, let's just not talk about that. It's just like you have like a group of people, and I can imagine in a large family setting, I don't come from a large family, like you can call your cousins ahead of time and be like, hey, like if such and such relative is going to say such and such thing, like let's rally around like switching the subject to a different topic, right?
Yes.
Like kind of rallying your troops almost of like
totally,
or your group of people to help you navigate those situations.
Yeah, and all of that can be just part of going in with a plan of being proactive and not reactive. Go in with a game, an activity, just something fun. If you really know that people are going to spiral on certain topics, there's just ways to go in and feel a little more prepared, like you have some control over the situation, and you're not just like white knuckling your way through Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah. That's strained relationships, right? With people that you're seeing. I know I have a few people in my network, people that I know, friends, who have made choices to just outright maybe pause relationships, like stop relationships with people And that brings up a lot of feelings, particularly during this time of the year, right? Like everyone's talking about seeing their aunt or seeing their grandma or seeing their mom and dad. And not everyone has a relationship with their mom or their dad. That's rough. How do, I guess, help me understand? And I know from my experience with people in my life, but how do people, those choices aren't easy to cut someone out of your life. No. And then on top of that, it could be easy to cut them out of your life in March when it's St. Patrick's Day, but difficult to stay by that, cutting that person out of your life in December when everyone's getting together with their family, when everyone's celebrating a holiday. How do you navigate that? Like, what advice do you give your patients on navigating that?
Who are dealing with like cutoff relationships?
Cutoff relationships, people they don't see anymore.
Yeah, I think cutoff doesn't have to be forever. So that's what I think people maybe need to do that for a time to break a pattern. Maybe people do need to do it permanently. So then you're still going back to, well, then come into the season with expectations. Manage your expectations. It's not going to look like maybe it has in the past. Maybe it looks like something a little bit different. Maybe this year it's with chosen family, not your biological family. Maybe this year it's about taking care of yourself and watching the movies you don't ever have time to watch and reading all your favorite books and just leaning into self-care.
Yeah, I'm not mad at some me time.
No, and it can be a little bit different. But again, it's kind of having more intention around the season rather than going in with that old expectation that we be holly and jolly and together with our families. And then it's not that. And then it feels extra painful.
Yeah, I empathize with that situation. And it parallels, I think, a little bit to grief, right? Which we've talked about already, where there's an absence of a person, right? Whether it's because they're no longer on this earth living with us, or if it's like a relationship that can't be maintained right now, so they're not with you in this moment. There's that, it's almost like, would you call it all grief? Like, is there a moment of grief for all of that? Like for death and for someone who's cut off?
There's a quote, and I do not remember who said it, but they said, there is grief in all change.
That's so good.
Isn't it? I know. And I think that is true. And you're grieving the change in your family. You're grieving the loss of the relationship. There's even ambiguous grief where you're not losing maybe something or someone tangible. You're losing the idea of something or the dream of something. So often, for example, in a breakup, you're not just breaking up and losing a person. You're now losing the dream of the future you saw with that person. Of the kids you imagined having with them, or the holiday you imagined celebrating with them. And that's its own kind of grief. Right?
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, that is such a helpful way to frame it, because you do experience that feeling, right? I mean, you are now helping me name like so many things that I've experienced in my life. For those of us who experience grief, and it sounds like anyone going through change might be experiencing some grief, what are some healthy ways to navigate grief, maybe some of that loneliness we were talking about earlier, when it feels like particularly heavy, right? How do you, I mean, I know some unhealthy ways to cope with that, like maybe eating my favorite snack over and over and over again until I can't stomach it anymore. But what are some healthy ways?
Okay, so this is one that makes me laugh because of my own ignorance. Feel your feelings, I think, is the first one. But when people would say that in the past, I would be like, well, yeah, what else am I going to do?
Yeah,
what kind of a statement is that? And had no idea that I was not feeling my feelings. What I was doing was thinking my feelings. I was avoiding my feelings. I was reacting to my feelings. But at no time was I feeling my feelings. I was in grad school when I realized that I was not feeling my feelings. So what I mean, so I want to be clear, because I just laugh at myself, because I'm like, I had no idea. Well, so maybe there are some other people who don't know.
I'm one of those people. I'm curious, because like you're right. I think, avoid. I know how to avoid them. I know all of the, like I can think of instances where I'm feeling your feelings. It sounds pretty simple, but what do you mean by it?
It means actually feeling the physical sensations. And we've also all really learned to cut off from our physical manifestations of our emotions. So, for example, I remember the first time someone saying, where do you feel that in your body? And I was like,
what do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And why does it matter? Who cares?
Everywhere?
Then, everywhere, nowhere. I don't know.
In my head.
So all over the place. So it was very insightful when someone finally pointed out, like, you do feel emotions in your body. That's what they are. They're physical sensations first. They are also important to tune into because they will notify you of something going on before your brain recognizes it. So so now I can be like, whoa, my heart started racing. Someone said something or something just happened. Like, my body tells me first. So when you are feeling grief and you are feeling loneliness, you will feel it somewhere in your body. So what feeling your feelings mean is located in your body. Like, where do you feel? Can you identify where you feel?
I mean, I feel my parents they're with me, but they're in a different country right now. So I don't get to see them every day. And this time of the year does, bring up feelings. I feel like an emptiness. Like, sometimes my heart drops when I think about, like, I'm going to go home and give my mom a hug. And I'm like, oh, I can't, know?
Yep.
So like
you
like
feel
right
that
here in my
in
chest.
So you feel that feeling. So it's really as simple as staying with that feeling. Because a couple things will happen. Our brains want to get involved. Our brains want to start to chew on it and make a story or a narrative or a meaning. They're problem-solving machines. The problem is these are unsolvable problems. Like, your parents not being close is not solvable at this time. So it'll start to spiral into thoughts, and this is where my brain would go. I would start to thought spiral. My brain got way too involved.
Yep.
So I was not paying attention to the feeling in my body. It was too much.
Yeah.
So I start going, well, life isn't worth living without this person in my life. Or I'm lonely because I'm just unlovable and broken. Those aren't true.
Right.
They're not, like, objectively true, and they're not really helpful. It's just our brains want to make sense of this.
Of the feeling.
Sometimes there's no sense to be made.
Yeah.
So just staying with the feeling and the emotional, like the actual physical sensation will move, or you'll kind of like be done for a little bit. I might feel that way tomorrow. I might weep and sob and grieve again tomorrow, but today my body goes, okay, time to move on to something else. As long as you don't get your brain involved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other end of the spectrum is beach balling.
Beach balling. Tell me more.
2 years of a master's degree. And I learned this from Mr. Rogers.
I love that.
Mr. Rogers taught this on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He talks about beach balling your emotions, meaning, have you ever tried to push a beach ball under the water?
Yeah, like that resistance that you...
like push it down, and then what happens?
It's just like...
It like pops up sideways.
Yeah.
So when you're just like, well, I don't want to feel the emotions, usually it's because the thought spiral becomes so painful we avoid it by just pushing it down. It pops up somewhere else, and that can look like reactive emotions, like secondary emotions, meaning like short temper, short fuse. Now we're angry, we're argumentative.
Yeah.
That does not help during the season when you're with family or whoever. That can look like numbing out behaviors. Now we're just drinking too much. Now we're watching way too much TV. Now we're eating our favorite snacks way too much.
Yeah.
We start just numbing out to things rather than just feeling them.
Wow. I had a feeling that talking to you was gonna I'm gonna write my notes and take this away from me. That's so insightful. Thank you for sharing those two things. And even the feeling the feels component, like, that's such a treasure to be able to do that. And hopefully a healthy way, right? I'm sure there's maybe feeling too much. Like, what do you do if you're consumed by the feeling?
I think that's a really good point, because it seems endless. Like, I lost my 12-year-old nephew a few years ago. And how do you even begin to navigate the holidays after that kind of loss?
Yeah.
And it was all consuming for our family. And I do think you can welcome grief as a way to honor the family member or the person you lost. And then there's a time for doing, like, turn it into action, whether you use that grief to honor them, to have some kind of ritual or something that you want to do, to lean into the memories, to lean into their favorite activities over the holidays. There's also a place for taking that emotion and then doing good with it, right? You honor your feelings, you can honor your loved one. So there's other things that you can do. Reach out, like reaching out for other people, reaching out to friends and family, reaching out to your support community. Or also use your pain to serve others. And I can feel like a lot. I almost hesitate to say that because sometimes it's just too much. And maybe that's later. Maybe that's down the road and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if it feels like this is just all consuming, then maybe start to focus on even the basic self-care. Like make sure you're drinking enough water. Make sure you go for a little walk.
Yeah.
Make sure you reach out to someone. You know?
I was on a call earlier with some coworkers, and someone said, like, sometimes all you can do is just wake up and take a shower, wake up and feed yourself fruits and vegetables and not just junk food, right? Like just taking a simple step forward sometimes is enough. And then the next day can be one more on top of that one, right? Like it's incremental is what I'm hearing from you, right? Like the feeling can overwhelm you, but then thinking back to what you shared earlier, your head can make you think that that's the only thing you can feel. But that's your brain trying to make sense of a feeling instead of just feeling the feeling. And then the brain part is the part, neuroplasticity, I think is the word that people use in this space of like, if your brain can say that, you can teach your brain to say something else, right? Like, it's not all consuming. Like it's a moment and taking a step towards like helping yourself, whether it's taking a shower, going out for a walk. And then incrementally you can get to a point where like, you honor someone's life, or you honor the grief that you're having by serving others, or by, I don't know, doing all those wonderful things that you see so many people do, starting foundations, donating money, donating time. Like, I think it's so beautiful. And it is one of, I think, the really positive things that come out of this holiday season is that there's a lot of giving. And I think, kind of thinking out loud here, it's almost like, we give a lot because we also understand that the human experience sometimes at this moment is really sad. So we help each other out. We reach out. Speaking of helping, what's the role that therapy can play in all of this as you're experiencing grief, as you're experiencing loss, loneliness? What role does therapy or even medication play in helping someone heal or navigate this time of year?
Yeah, I think it can all fall under self-care, where you are still taking care of yourself. You still have a place for these feelings to go. Maybe they are too much or too overwhelming for your family, or it's difficult for people to sit with pain. You end up with the people who are giving you all the platitudes, the things that, well, you'll see them again someday, or this too shall pass, the things that are not really for you. They are for them and their discomfort.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know what to say.
I don't know what
You'll
to
see
say,
them again.
and I'm real uncomfortable with your pain, so I'm going to say some stuff.
Right.
So then you go to therapy, where you can really process your feelings. You have a place to talk about those things. You have someone who can help you put together a proactive plan to be around family, or to honor your grief, or to set different intentions for the holiday season. And then medication's just a really important way to stay grounded in your own mental health. Just like everything else, I think one of the hardest parts of this time of year is we have the structure and routine of our normal day-to-day life, and then it all stops. At least for a lot of us, there's just time off, there's breaks, school ends for a little while, and then your structure and routine and those things that kind of help you keep putting one foot in front of the other kind of ends.
Yeah.
So for good, you have time to feel your feelings, but also not so good. So a lot of stuff might come up. So going to therapy can help navigate all of that.
Is it normal, like, I don't know, you obviously do this, you see patients, you see people who do take that step, right? To go to therapy, maybe to seek out medication. Like, what if I'm someone who's like, I'm never on medication, like, not 10 months out of the year, I'm totally fine. Like I can navigate these emotions on my own. But then November comes around, everyone's talking about Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving, Christmas, like Hanukkah, all the holidays. And like all of a sudden you feel this thought, like, should I go on medication for these 2 months? Should I start now? Like, Does that mean that I was lying to myself all year and I needed this all along? Like, how do you help someone navigate the choice of whether medication is like the thing that they need to pursue?
Well, sure. And I think there's a lot to consider with that. And that
Sure.
there's also times in everyone's life where you just need something to help you cope with what's happening now. And just regular coping skills might not be quite enough. So we're kind of gauging for, what helps, like having your routine, but you also some understanding that we're also putting this holiday season right in the middle of a freezing cold, dark time. All of that impacts your mental health negatively all by itself without adding now all this pressure and expectation and family time and all these things. So just a ton of self-compassion that maybe you just need to have some medication to help you get through.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to assess in that. But we have wonderful providers who help people really assess for their needs and what might be helpful to manage.
Tell me more about what is available at Ateneu in terms of like seeking a therapist or seeking help with medication management. What can someone find at Ateneu?
They can find so many helpful resources all in one place. And this is the beautiful thing about Ateneu that I could go on and on and on about, is after working in private practice and kind of like referring people out and sending them all over the place. And maybe they make it there, maybe they don't. Maybe it's too much to go talk to a doctor and be prescribed a medication. And then that gets to be the step that just feels too hard. Instead of any of that, now we have it all in one place. So now I can reach out directly and be like, hey, I have this client, they're looking for medication. Let's get them scheduled with Tanner or Tia, or let's get them to their medication. We have TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Okay.
That can be helpful. Ketamine treatments, both nasal spray and the intramuscular injections. We have psychotherapists that are there to help people with just talk therapy. We just have a lot of really great resources in one place.
That's incredible. Yeah. Sounds like, there's so many options, right? And we all know that navigating healthcare, let alone mental health care, can be very complicated. And what I love about Ateneu is that it is like, for the most part, a one-stop, right? Like you can find a therapist, you can find help with medication management, looking at other alternatives that may not always be available in other spaces, and providers like yourself who know what some of those therapies or medications can look like depending on your situation.
Yep, 100%. That's great.
I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. So for anyone listening who might be feeling completely alone, some hopelessness maybe, what would you say to them to help them find a sense of belonging or a sense of hope during this time of the year?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've learned from working with so many clients over the years is you're not alone in your loneliness. It's one of the things I hear the most about when people come to talk to me, is just how lonely they are. So there are so many that are struggling, and everyone needs somebody. Everyone needs a community. So I know it can be hard. I know it can be scary, but reaching out, there are so many hobby groups and support groups, and there's a lot of resources. The holiday season, I think, as you were mentioning earlier, is a great time. It offers this unique time for service, for helping others, and in that you're finding like-minded people who are also wanting to serve and get out there and help people, and then you're finding connection in that too. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
Community really does play a huge role. I know in my experience as a person, I feel lucky that I have been able to be community for other people, help friends, family who are going through moments of difficulty, to be that person. And it's honestly as simple as having someone over for the holidays, or if it's like, hey, if you need a place to crash because maybe staying with family is too stressful, there's an empty bedroom in my home, come stay with us and be a refuge from the potential chaos that can be happening at home, right? Being that for someone, I think, has been really important for me personally. So I know friends, family members, community can play such an important role in helping people navigate this.
Yes. So another thing I learned recently is also, of course, if you have a faith or spiritual community. I was talking to a local pastor, and I'd never heard of this before, but we were discussing this topic, and he talked about a service that they hold called Blue Christmas. Have you ever heard of this?
I am not, no.
Some congregations call it the longest night.
Okay.
Usually it's held on the literal longest night of the
Sure.
year.
Yeah,
longest
the winter
amount of,
solstice.
Yeah, winter's
Yeah.
on the 21st. And it's a special holiday service specifically that leans into those who are struggling over the holiday season. So they are really leaning into those that are feeling grief and sadness and loneliness. And I thought that was beautiful. I'd never heard of it before.
That's so cool.
And I love that there are resources like that for people.
Yeah, because it is, like some people lean into faith, some people don't, but to be able to find community. And I love hearing about resources like that are available to people. I know volunteering has also been, I don't know, a sense of like you almost get out of yourself, right? You get out of your experience to be able to give back. And that's not just applicable to this time of the year, but at any time of the year to be able to say, I'm going to get out of my own experience and instead focus on somebody else. And it almost provides perspective. It also provides that opportunity to, like step out of your own shoes and maybe somebody else's or do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there specific places that you've liked to volunteer?
My son's school, like they will usually have a Sub for Santa situation where I know for the last few years, and this is again, I have little ones at home, so it's sometimes hard to find time to like volunteer or like do something, but where I can involve them. So whether it's donating their toys or taking them to the store and like saying like, what toys can we buy for other people that might be less fortunate or that might not have Santa or their parents come and give them these gifts. And that's been really fun. My son actually looks forward to it. Where he does martial arts, they usually have a Christmas tree, and the ornaments are pieces of paper where people write like the age of the child and the toy that they'd like. And he likes going up to the tree and like finding the ones that he's most excited to buy. And he brings them to me, and then we'll go and spend time at the store to find that gift for that kid. It's the way that I've been able to do it.
Yeah, those are great ways. I had when my son was really sick in the hospital. He was in the ICU at Primary Children's over a holiday, and they have the Ronald McDonald family room there. Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah,
it's run entirely by volunteers.
No
They
way.
just come in, and the people who have been there before with their own kids come back and provide meals for the families who are there. Which it adds up. It's very expensive to be even just eating out of the hospital cafeteria.
Totally.
But these lovely people that come in and volunteer.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I
So
love that.
I only want to give specific examples just because some people are like, yeah, great, volunteer, but where?
But
Like,
what-
what do I
yeah.
do? Who needs me? So, even right now, the food pantries and the shelters, there's just a lot of need out there.
There is a lot of need, and there's been a lot of push. I think, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older and more aware, but there's just so much out there. I see signs, and with the latest government shutdown, a lot of people were also experiencing loss and stress and financial stress. So it's not a great time of year. I don't think it's ever a great time to be experiencing that, but I think what's been so beautiful is that you see I get emails all the time. It's been my child's school, the martial arts dojo. It's been local church communities. I see signs at the schools that I drive by every day of like people saying like, hey, if you have time or if you can donate non-perishables, perishable foods, like I think it's a really wonderful way to give back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're right. Get out of your own head, get out of your own stories, out of maybe those thought spirals and things like that. It's just a great way to do something.
Yeah. Can we go back to the friend thing? Because friends and family, they can be someone's like only community or main community. What advice would you give to that friend or that family member who wants to show up for someone who's grieving or struggling? Like, what could they do to help that friend, to help that family member?
I love this question, and I feel, especially having been on that side of it, you can feel so helpless. Like you see this loved one in so much pain and you just want to fix it and you can't. And then you're like, and then what do I do if I can't fix it? I don't know.
You usually end up going with like, so sorry this is happening. Like it'll get better. And you almost kind of get stuck and you're like, what do I say? I know I've been that person.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to say, I don't know what to say right now. I just want you to know I'm here for you. I'm here for whatever you need. I can just listen if you want to talk about it. And if you don't, let's go do something. Let's go bowling. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like inviting them to do things over the holidays without pressure. Hey, you can come. We'd love to have you. Also, no worries. And no worries if you want to duck out early if it becomes overwhelming.
Totally.
Or if you change your mind last minute and decide to come. Like you just sort of allow a lot of space for whatever is happening.
I like that because something that I've struggled with when I've done that is like, I don't want to put the burden of like, hey, I'm here if you need me. Like I'm someone who like doesn't like asking for help. So like when I say like, reach out if you need me, it's like now I'm putting almost the onus on them to reach out. And I'm like, is that even helpful to like tell someone reach out like when maybe they feel really uncomfortable asking for help? So like, how do you strike that balance as a present friend or a family member to be able to say like, and I feel like you partially answered it with saying like giving the optionality, right? The no pressure I think is helpful. But what else would you have to say to that?
I would say the best examples of this were people who offered something very specific and tangible, or maybe a couple of things.
Sure.
So those who were like, hey, I'll bring you dinner on Wednesday, or is Friday better? And they just sort of like, I'll just drop off food. I don't have to stay with and eat it with you, but I can drop off a meal. Or I'll come. Is there a day that I can walk your dog? Which day works best? You know, offering something very specific, because then I think it's easier for people to be like, yeah, that'd be great, rather than you are putting the onus on them to think of something and they're like, I got it. I don't know.
Right. Because sometimes it is harder to ask for help but it is, I like that specificity, right? To be able to say like, hey, happy to bring a meal by this week. Can I come by Wednesday or Friday? Like that's so specific and so kind still. And you can be there for someone.
Yeah. Shovel their walk. Like even things you don't even have to ask, you just know need to be done.
That's so, I mean, I would welcome someone shoveling my snow.
All right.
Yeah. What if we have someone listening today that feels like they're just treading water? They're just trying to survive. They're not celebrating necessarily. What message would you want to give to them during this time of the year?
I think to remember that it won't always be like this, and that's not to be invalidating or dismissive. It just won't. Life is change, and to keep that perspective, and also to control what you can control. So there can feel like so much that's outside of your control, so much that you really feel so helpless and powerless over. But remembering that you do have some control in little day-to-day things. I think that you just also have to remember to do what's right for you. Everyone's going to grieve differently. Everyone's going to survive differently. And that's okay.
I appreciate that so much. Because it is, I mean, we were talking about this right before we got on the call, and this is not grief necessarily. Maybe it is, because grief is what we experience when we change, but I have little ones right now, and more and more, I've been thinking about, one day they won't be. My son's 7, and I feel like, I don't know, I remember being 7. Sometimes the magic of Christmas starts to disappear around this time of age, maybe, like going into like preteen years. I know I'm still a few years away, but I'm starting to grieve almost that like change that's going to come in the family. And I sometimes find myself thinking, oh no. And then the opposite's also true, where it's hard to be around toddlers during a 2-week period where there's no school and I have to entertain them. So I like what you just shared, and how I'm taking it is like, things just are for a moment, right? Like they won't be 7 for the rest of their life. One day it'll be different. And same with like family members. Like I've been thinking a lot about my aging parents, like how many more holiday seasons do I have with them? So to cherish those moments, control what I can control, right? Like if they're not here, they're not here, but how else can I celebrate with them when they're not here? I don't know. You're just giving me so many nuggets that I'm going to take personally. So I appreciate you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you.
Before we wrap up today, curious for you, what does it mean for you personally to find light in the holiday season? Like, it's what kind of like what we're talking about today, the maybe not feeling light, but what does it mean to you?
When I think of the light, I think of hope. I think of just a hope for better days, a hope for being able to honor whatever those feelings are, a hope that if it's something like loneliness, that can change eventually. If it's the loss, that eventually that can shift into something full of meaning and purpose and not just pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just mostly hope is what comes to mind when I think of that.
I love that. And it is truly like, again, it's hard sometimes to feel the hope, but when you are able to find it, it can really be that like little light at the end of the tunnel that kind of helps you navigate towards happier times. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, there's also something that just popped into my mind, which maybe is helpful too, is having these little rituals that become part of your holiday traditions so that you always honor those feelings and always honor those losses. And as I was thinking about this topic, I realized that my family does this and I never put it together until
Please share
this experience.
Yeah.
So every Christmas Eve, we have a big family dinner. There's probably 20 to 30 of us. And that's what my grandma started.
Yeah.
And my grandma, interestingly, started what we call the ringing of the bells. So right before we sit down to dinner, there's 4 little golden bells, and they each have a tag. That's like just a laminated tag attached. That's the same saying. So we have 4 volunteers read the 4 bells. And it'll say something like, I ring this bell for all of those who have gone on before. And they ring the bell.
Yeah.
And I ring the bell in honor of those who aren't with us this year. And like we just have this little tradition where we honor the people who aren't there for whatever reason. And I love that. It's such a special part of our holidays. And I think it's such a healthy way to take some of that grief and pain and acknowledge it and celebrate those people still and honor them in the holidays. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's both beautiful and helpful, to be able to do that. You're making me think through like, what are those rituals that you put together as a family to honor the people in your life, whether they're here or not here.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Thank you so much, Kate, for being with us today. I am curious, are there any resources? We've talked about I know that we're in Utah, so there are, if someone's going through a crisis, if someone's going through a hard moment, they can't go to what are some of those like statewide resources that people can tap into in case they need them?
Yeah, so we've talked about some of like the lower level ways of reaching out for support for the things that you need. Now, if you really feel like this is getting to be too much and you feel like you're in crisis, you actively want to harm yourself or someone else, it's important you can go straight to any emergency room. You can also call the 988 line. That's the kind of the suicide hotline. Or there's a warm line, like you're not necessarily in crisis. You just need to talk to someone urgently. And that is 1-833-SPEAK-UTAH or UT. So Speak UT. And you can call someone that you just have someone to talk to. It's not necessarily a crisis line. There's also the University of Utah has a mobile crisis unit. So sometimes people will call like 911 for a mental health crisis, but then sometimes make things worse when you have like ambulance and police or whoever showing up at your house, and now you have a big scene and you can just feel shame or whatever. So a mobile crisis unit can come, and they just come in a regular car, and they can come help make a plan and figure out what you need next. And that is also an option for people.
I love that. We'll make sure and drop those in our show notes and just kind of in the description of today's episode so that people have access to those resources. Thank you again, Kate, for joining us on this very first podcast with the Feels Club. I felt the feels. during today's episode. And we're so grateful to kick it off with you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to be here. I'm so excited for this.
Well, thank you all for joining us on this very first episode of the Feels Club and a new therapy podcast. If today's conversation helped clarify, bring comfort, or something new to you, be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, share this episode with someone you love, someone you care about. To learn more about a new therapy, our clinic, our treatment options, please visit anewtherapyutah.com. Follow us on social media, and you'll find more experts like Kate on our feeds to learn more about the resources that are available to you. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore all of the ways that we can heal, grow, and start anew.